Welcome to The Real Deal On. And today we are absolutely blessed with, now, is it Sir or Doctor first? Is it Sir Dr. James or is it Dr. Sir James? How does it all
Is
work?
Sir Doctor.
All right. So we
There
have
you
Sir Dr. James Dentley. He is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, philanthropist, and one of the nation's top life and business strategists. As one of the world's most renowned motivational speakers, James Dentley is a dynamic personality and highly sought-after resource in business and professional circles for Fortune 500 CEOs, small business owners, nonprofit, and community leaders from all sectors of society looking to expand opportunity. James hosts and speaks at events all over the world. As a matter of fact, he's giving us the gift of his time as he's at an event right now. He is a best-selling author of The Frequencies of Top Performers and MLM Mastery. He created the #1 speakers and communication program called Inspired to Speak Action Camp. And his passion is to empower entrepreneurs and business owners to create a massive success and to achieve their dreams. James's passion for coaching and mentoring speakers has transformed good speakers into great speakers and great speakers into legendary. He has spent over 3 decades working with startups and major global brands to help them increase sales, productivity, and overall success. Welcome to The Real Deal On, James Gently. Knighted presently. So, oh my gosh. So, brother, it is so great to see you. We met on the Marketers Cruise and just connected. You connected with our daughter and your wife, your family are just so amazing. So, thank you so much for sharing your most valuable asset, your time, your wisdom. So, let's dive into who Sir James is, what you're passionate about, and how we can help you transform the world.
Well, first and foremost, Doug, I have to just thank you so much, man. You've been so gracious, so open. We connected when we met. I want you to give my best for myself and my wife, to Heidi and Elavie, just a wonderful family, man. And you can really kind of tell a lot about a person by their family, by their children, by the way other people look at them, respect them. So I honor the work you do,
Thank
and
you.
we are here to serve.
Amen.
Who am I? Well, first of all, I was knighted by the Royal House of Cappadocia, Constantine the Great, and St. Helen a few years ago. And Constantine was the first ruler of Rome to make Christianity the religion of Rome,
Wow.
as they were persecuting Christians. That's how it got to Europe. Started in 312 AD. And Prince Raphael is a direct blood descendant. And His Royal Highness has the legal authority to bestow those titles. So I'm very honored because our focus is to just help make the world a little better. And you have to qualify in one of 8 categories that we really scrutinize who really gets into the order. They don't have to be rich, but have done something with their life that we felt is extraordinary. Now I am a baron. So now I am
Oh,
His Excellency Baron. And the funny thing is, there's only 3 barons in the United States. The other 2, I helped them be elevated to that title, Mr. Alex Stern and John Sotaris. But they started in 312 AD. Do you know I'm the first African American baron they've ever had in the world?
oh my gosh. No,
Yeah, so I'm carrying it, brother. I'm
that's
carrying it.
amazing. Well
I
deserved.
also received the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, the Heart of Gold Gentleman's Award from in London, England as well. And, life is just really good. I'm very honored, very humble because I never asked to be awarded. I just wanted to do something with my life at a time when I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And when I figured it out and got that clarity, I never stopped. And I keep myself on a journey to personal and business development to help just every day wake up with joy and gladness and love and happiness every single day as I learned that I cannot control the things outside of me. So I have to learn to control the things inside of me and be inner directed and not outer directed. And the foundation of that, Doug, in my opinion, is love. Because
Amen.
we choose who we don't like. So why don't we choose to like everybody? Why don't we choose to love
Yeah.
everybody? It's just really a simple choice. People want to seek happiness. Happiness is always yours. You don't give it to another person. You're happy already. Another person can exponentially grow that or compound that or lock into that to expand that. But happiness is a choice. I remember when I was homeless back in 1994, and I was working for a gentleman, and I said, look, he was going to pay me $250 a week. That's all he could afford. I said, look, I'll work for you if you let me build my business on your telephones from 5 p.m. to 9. I'll work for you. After 3 weeks, he ran out of money and he came to me looking at the floor. He said, James, I'm sorry, I can't pay you. I said, okay, I'll work for you for free if I can use your phones to build my business. He did not know, because he really trusted me, that a lot of nights I had no place to go and I slept on that hard concrete floor. He didn't know, he did know I would live in apartment hotels where there's more gum on the floor than carpet. And it was really trying times, but I grew up there because that's the point in my life I decided to take responsibility for my life and not ask for help, not ask my mother or my family members to bail me out, because I knew they would. But that enabling was a point I had seen something and discovered something I'd never seen. And I was willing to go on the journey because I realized if I would do what is hard, just maybe I can make my life easier. And it's been a true blessing. I was able to retire in January 1995 and do some really, really special things around the world. I'm just honored, man. And meeting you is one of those special things.
Oh, thank you, brother. So hold on. I'm going to do some math here. You said
Mm-hmm.
in 93, you were homeless
Mm-hmm.
and you
94.
retired in 95.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
How did I do it?
well, so actually, yeah. So I want to learn that. Of course, we want to understand that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also curious what got you into that. I recognize you said you didn't want to ask your family for help. So
Yes.
kind of what happened? How did you get into that situation where, I mean, did you go out on your own and then things didn't work
Mm-hmm.
out? Or, I mean,
Yeah.
how does one end
How did it
up
happen?
in that situation?
Got it. I'm from Chicago. I left Chicago after a divorce and moved to Atlanta. And my background was in restaurant management. I ran restaurants like Steak and Ale restaurants, and Pleasant Peasant mixed restaurants. When I was 18 years old, I was the youngest general manager ever in Church's Fried Chicken
Wow.
restaurants and the youngest regional manager at 20 years of age. And I was really, really good at it, but I knew I didn't want to do that till I was 65 or retirement, because there were no 65-year-old restaurant managers. And I
Right.
realized that work was too hard, too long, relationships would fall apart. So when I got divorced, I moved, and that was primarily, Doug, because I was so focused on making money and the believing that it was my role to support my family solely, and not understand that I needed a partner.
Mm.
I was the provider, and I was so driven for that. And I owned several businesses that really owned me, and I was just so burnt out. And got divorced, moved to Atlanta, didn't know anyone there, went back in the restaurant industry. And then I had someone try to tell me about network marketing, which I rebuked it because I couldn't stand it, didn't believe in it. And the gentleman asked me 3 times. The fourth time, I got in his car to go to TGI Fridays. May 26, 1994. He takes me to a meeting, and I am upset because I just met the guy. And I was 33, and the speaker was 21, and I prejudged him. There was about 58 people in the room. I counted them. And at the end of the presentation, I said, I'm going to try it just in case it works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to give these people a piece of my mind. I'm going to let them have it. And I met a gentleman named Michael Kupis, who was one of the founders of a company called ACN, who came to Atlanta, would mentor us. And he and his twin brother, Tony, Greg Provenzano, Robert Stefanowski, and JD Sullivan changed my life. So during the process of building my business, I had replaced my income and left my job. But I had a roommate, and I had a roommate who moved a relative in, and they would write checks for my checkbook and basically embezzle money. So I came home one night, and the Atlanta Police Department, was looking for me, and I actually, and they left me a card, and I called them, and they wanted me to come and turn my stuff in. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't know how to get out, because I'm already in trouble with checks, with bounced checks. So, and I couldn't help. So I moved out of that apartment, my own apartment. I moved out, moved in with another gentleman named Charles Dangerfield. I stayed there for 4 days, and then he tells me, I got bad news. I said, what is it? He said, we're getting evicted. And I'm very positive. I said, when? He says, Monday. And that was Friday. So
Wow.
Friday, I find myself with nothing. Now, I did own a Porsche, but I blew the engine in the Porsche. So now I got another problem. So I blew the engine in the Porsche, And a friend of mine sent me a 1989 Buick Century, dented from front to back, windshield cracked from top to bottom. It didn't have an ignition, so I was started up with wire pliers. I locked my keys in the car one day, so I had to. I locked myself out of the car. Wasn't any keys for the ignition, and but I had to knock the lock out with a screwdriver. So I put my finger in the hole in the door, open up the car, get the wire pliers, move the towel from the ignition because it was just a hole there, start it up, and go to your friend's house and tell you to follow me. We're going to get rich. And that happened because Michael Cooper's gave me a vision, and I always had a dream, but I didn't understand what it was to have a vision, because dreams you have, visions have you. And
Mm,
he told us, about 15 of us, he put us in a half moon circle. He said, and he's 4 years younger than me. He said that you all would be the most successful people in this company. But he said something I'll never forget. He said, but first, I will teach you who you need to become,
mm,
because when you become it, you can have everything. Because your success can't keep you someplace. Your character, work ethic, and your vision won't won't keep you. It can't keep you someplace that it's your place if you don't have the character. So that was a journey, and I went forward, and he prepared us and said we were going to go through hard times. Matter of fact, he and his twin brother Tony were homeless at 24 and multimillionaires at 28. So when I'm sleeping in my car, my paradigm was different. I had something else to draw on.
mm,
But I'm going to get rich. This was the path, because I had tried a lot of things, made a lot of money, made $1 million twice, and lost everything twice because I didn't know how to keep it. I didn't have mentorship. I just had a dream and was willing to go to work. And I had the ego with a lack of humility to realize, and I tell people this all the time, Doug, perhaps no matter what it is you want in your life, whether it be your health, whether it be your wealth, whether it be great relationships, maybe it just comes down to you just don't know.
mm,
And if you don't know and you're willing to become a seeker, you can find how, because not only what you seek is seeking you, but it's already in front of you. You just can't see it because of the lens the glass is a shade of glass, the lens that we operate with our life. Because what you live, you learn, you practice, and what you practice, you become. We are our environment.
I couldn't agree more with that. And wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So share how, because I think this is instructive, because I don't think you're the only person who started out having negative associations to
Mhm.
MLMs, to direct marketing.
Yeah.
What was, I know you said you'd give it a shot, but giving a shot isn't necessarily, like that paradigm shift. How did
Yeah.
you like navigate that? And what was it that for you, you said, ah, okay, this
Mhm.
is working, or this is worth putting that energy into?
Woo. That 21-year-old gentleman who did that presentation, May 26, 1994, in front of the room, he said something I never heard before. He said that one or two people in this room would take this information seriously, and in 1 or 2 years, they'll never worry about money another day in their life. I did not know him. I did not know if that was true. But what I did know is that no one else ever had the audacity to say it.
Mm,
So I wanted to try it on a dare, because if it worked, I understood that the pain of regret is tons, where the pain of trying something is ounces. I
right.
had failed at a lot of things didn't work, but if I keep trying things, I find what does. So the training was the key. And when they had the training and they would show us what to do, I would go home and I'd put it in action right away. And no one in my family would support me. None of my friends would support me. They didn't understand it, didn't believe it. They're in Chicago, I'm in Atlanta. And I kept going, and I started talking to perfect strangers, just like Jesus. And they said, go to this town, and if they want to hear the gospel, preach. If they don't, shake the dust off your feet, just keep going.
Yep.
And I found people that would enroll in a vision, and I learned a lot from that. And it wasn't easy, but I was nonstop from eight to faint. And at the time, being divorced, I was behind in my child support 3 or 4 months. And my ex-wife was upset with me because I moved and she was angry. She wanted to be angry to my face. I was gone. And so she would let me talk to my daughter. And I wanted to be her father so bad. When I was homeless, I had a picture of her on my dashboard. And that's my guiding light. Now, when I became successful, I moved back to Chicago. I had paid my child support up well before that, but then I doubled it without anybody asking me,
Mm,
just to teach her a lesson. And then I doubled it again 2 years later because it's my child.
right.
And you should know I'm going to take care of my kid. Unfortunately, we became great friends again, great friends. And, she wanted to rekindle and come back, but I just don't understand how to do that and wasn't willing to do that. But we became great friends, and she passed away, at the age of 44 from
Wow.
cancer.
Sorry.
And that was, my daughter was 17. She's 34 now, 17 years ago. And yeah, no, no, I'm sorry. She's 34 now, so that was a decade ago, maybe something like that, and over a decade. And my daughter and I have the best, incredible relationship. She's an incredible lady. Her mom was incredible. We became great friends from that, and here we are today. You know, just keep living the legacy and building legacies and living dreams and seeing if we can make a stark difference in this world.
Love it. And as you know, it's something, we share in common for sure is that. And I like to think, our, our divine mission to, align with God and bring that to fruition, that it's holistic, it's sustainable.
Yeah.
It's, um, so that I really appreciate that. And same thing, say about you and your family, because I've met most of your family, I think, and,
Mhm. Yeah.
they're incredible. Um, so did, were you doing, so you obviously you were a manager and doing the building of
Mhm.
these businesses. How much of the speaking, the personal development, the other
Mhm.
attributes that you do so well now, like where did that
Mhm.
come from? Did you seek out that experience, or did it
Mhm.
happen just by proxy because of the work you were doing?
Oh my goodness, Doug, I was so afraid of speaking. I had already owned several businesses, but the businesses always owned me.
Hmm.
There was no time whatsoever in my life. I worked dark. Started at dark 30 in the morning and finished dark 30 at night. And I knew it had to be more than just working that hard. When I got network marketing, it was a part-time business, and I actually was able to, before I really got going, to triple my income in about 6 months with going not relentlessly towards building that business. And one day, the 21-year-old kid says, "You're going to be up in 2 weeks." I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" He says, "You're going to do the presentation." And I said, and I knew him. I knew if I said no, he wouldn't ask me again. So I said, "Okay, I'll be ready." And I was so afraid. I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. I was practicing the doorknobs. I had a roommate. His girlfriend said, "Who is James talking to?" Nobody was here when he came in. I was doing it in my car. The people next to me thought I was crazy. I would act like I'm singing so they wouldn't think I'm insane. And I went to my first business event, June of 1994. The keynote speaker was Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, and he wrote What Makes the Great Great. He was commissioned by Napoleon Hill, and he wanted them to support his book, What Makes the Great Great. They said, first you write this Think and Grow Rich book, then we'll do it. He was a professor, and I saw him speak, Doug. I mean, he had some poems, he had rhymes, but he had so much knowledge, he could just bring it. And I was so impressed. I went to him afterwards and I said, Dr. Kimbrough, that was fantastic. Tonight is my first night speaking in front of a room. Going to be about 70 people there. Can you give me any pointers? He says, I'm not a speaker, I'm a professor and I'm an author. I talk about what other people say to me. I said, I'm going to give you the number of a good friend of mine who trains speakers. Tell him that I gave you the number and he will help you. I gave him the book I had purchased. He wrote in the book, "To the world's greatest speaker, believe." I can see his writing now, and it's like it jumped from that page into my heart. I went out that night and I did it. And then I opened up the door because other people in the office were afraid to do it, but I was the first to do it outside of the two or three people that ran everything. And I never stopped. And I had a lot of adversity, but I kept reading. I understood that at that time in the 90s, before the internet, all leaders were readers.
Mm,
Less than 3% of the population had a library card. Less than 3.2 people ever read a book on personal development or personal growth, including 3.4% of the people with a college education. And nobody was studying how to become better. And then when I was homeless, all I had was my books. So I read. and I had a great ability to retain information. When I was 8 years old, I memorized the books of the Bible, never forgot them.
Wow.
I was able to retain information, even though, now get this, I was a D average student in high school. I thought I had a B once, but it was really two D's real close together. My wife's a double scientist, so she helped me level up. But I can remember information and data when I put it in. And I guess if it was something that I wanted to really do, I was going to hold it, I was going to own it. And that's how I started. And doing those meetings and presentations in front of rooms. And then we'd have events where maybe 100 people, then 200, and then 500. Next thing you know, it's 10,000 and it's 20,000. Then we're in Europe doing it. And now we have translators doing it, and we're in Spanish speaking companies doing it. And everybody has a translator. And I got really good at it because I studied and I learned, and they taught us the psychology of communication. And I teach that to this day and enhance upon it. And that's why no one teaches what we teach in our speaker programs.
Right on. And are you a preacher?
No, I have an honorary doctorate degree in divinity, but I was a lead learner, and I took 4 years of discipleship, which was roughly maybe 10 hours a week for 32 weeks for 4 years.
Wow.
And then I took, but I make my work, my work is my mission. My work is my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I
Couldn't
live
agree
it. I
more.
believe. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Baptist boy, not and a non-denomination Christian. I studied the Muslim faith. I studied L. Ron Hubbard. I studied the Catholic faith because I wanted to know. I studied the Hindu. I wanted to find out. We have everyone. Look, if I was born in India, 72% of myself included, 72% of everybody I knew would be Hindu
Right.
because all we know is what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So is God bigger? Does God only love this one sector of people? I can't believe that. I can't buy into that. But I do know one thing is that the real true answer is that I believe, but we just really don't know. So we have to pick a choice. We have to take a choice. But I understood one thing. If I can learn to live my life and treat people in the manner of which 99% of all religions ask us to treat ourselves and each other and our neighbor, as ourselves, to treat people a certain way, to help the poor, to be here because we're all here together. There's nothing more powerful than the power of the human connection. And I never count out what a person can be, because if I treat a person, especially a child, as they are, they may remain the same. But if I can teach them, empower them, plant a seed, then they can become what they should be. I always tell people, I give you this. If you take an apple, the power of the human mind, this is for your audience, because you know this stuff. If you open up your hand like this right now in front of the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I want anyone who's watching just to imagine you see a red apple in your hand. Put a red apple in your hand. And you can see that, right? Let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you how good we are. Now, you see that red apple, now make it green.
Mm-hmm.
Now make it yellow.
Yep.
See, when you use the imagination is the most powerful thing we have, and that is where all the foundational source of creation comes from. So even when you hit rock bottom, you really hit rock foundation. So now if you built the foundation up, because if I can take that same apple and cut that apple in half, Doug, can you see the inside of two halves of an apple?
Yeah.
Can you count the seeds in the apple?
Sure.
But what you cannot count are the apples in the seed.
Right.
And when you can impact the power of life, starting with your children, starting with your own, starting with your neighbor, people you bump into and you say a word, starting with the teachers that may have said something to you at some point in your life, then you become the seed that would bear fruit and make many apples.
Wow.
And we live forever.
That's legacy. Well, I mean, I will say every time I see you speak, it's like a sermon. You're and I believe you're channeling, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Oh,
definitely
yeah.
tapping into
Yeah.
something bigger than
Hmm.
yourself, and you're
Hmm.
connecting on that deep level. And
Yeah.
all the tools, the metaphors, and the analogies that you have are fantastic. It's the passion of your presentation that is so powerful, and that's a lot of P's in there.
Well, let me expound on that. That's because this is what I teach and inspired to speak. First of all, first of all, a lot of people have fear of public speaking. Number one fear in the world. Second to death by fire. Okay.
Oh, it's got to be by
If you're
fire.
death by fire.
Okay.
People would be rather set ablaze than be seen out there. Here I am, see all of me,
Right.
because we're not perfect, but nothing is.
Mm.
Okay. And if it was perfect and we're imperfect, it would be imperfect by default because we're imperfect. So be perfect inside of imperfection, number one. Number two, if you have anxiety, that's because you're worried about you, how you're going to be perceived, how you're going to say the right thing, how it's going to come off. It cannot be about you. It's got to be about that audience. So when I teach people, Doug, is that you're never the star, you are the director. The audience is the star.
Mm.
And as the director, I have one job, and that's to help people get an Oscar. If I can impact one life, it's better than money, it's better than anything. Significance is a greater human need, that your life counts. It matters for something. So when I speak, I teach people how to not just speak into the listening, but speak into the nervous system of another human being.
Mm.
And that's what people say when they say, well, I'm a preacher, because you don't just hear me. I want you to feel me, because I learned to become free, and I learned to become so authentic and honest and take away the mask. And anything and any shortcoming I've had, I've owned it in front of 10, 15,000 people and put it in books. I even have a documentary of my life. It was there. So people know I checked myself in a 28-day rehab once. They know I lost money. They know I've been divorced twice and great friends with both of those ladies afterwards. But I didn't know how, and I had to learn some things. I had to discover who I really wanted to be. But when you learn to use your voice like the soundtrack of a movie, that soundtrack is sometimes is very subtle, but it creates the emotion and the theme of everything that's stated and everything you see in the movie. The soundtrack does it because we are vibrational creatures that run on frequency and energy. And from the beginning of your existence inside of your mother's womb, the heartbeat, the gas bubbles, the food digesting, it is a frequency, it's a course, the stuff that happens, the stimuli outside of that per body, all has to affect that child. With 72% water, upon conception, 90% water, you can put frequency towards water and it will crystallize differently based upon what you confront it with. So
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. Number two, you understand personality types and how to speak and listen and be in tune with someone who is not like you. Like people meet someone and naturally just don't rub each other the wrong way. Most of the time, it's either a value separation or it's a personality separation. And when you understand it, you understand that that person has the right to be who they are, love them, learn from them. Everybody's just trying to figure it out, man. Everybody wants the same things.
Yeah.
Everybody. It doesn't matter what you believe in, what your political party, what religion, what color. You want the same stuff. And if you can't find it, you try to fill it with something else.
So true. So,
That's my service.
amen. Uh, when we back up a little bit, obviously you've been speaking for many years from doing it in the network marketing. Um,
hmm
when did you transition from using it to build that business to doing it for a living and then transforming it into training? Like, how did that pathway
Yeah.
occur?
I started teaching it in 1995.
Oh, wow.
Number one, because not only did I do presentations, we had to train people, leadership,
Mm,
mindset. You have to study, how to win friends and influence people. How do you attract people into your life? You want to become better. You got to work on becoming better. And that's just all it is. And it's not, again, it's not saying something's wrong now, but be even better because life's like this escalator that's coming down. If you don't take a step up, you lose ground. Look, I've had surgeries on my legs, man. I remember I could climb the highest tree, the highest building. I could leap over tall fences. I was a third degree black belt in Japanese karate, third degree brown belt in judo. I used acrobats. Oh my goodness! If you don't keep it going, then you pay a price for it, I'm 20 pounds down now since you see me.
oh,
And
nice.
I'll tell you, yeah, man, I'm still working, after going through cancer, sarcoidosis, all this other stuff. So the main thing is that if you can just look at your life and become and learn to experience life and not just live it.
Mm,
Because when you experience life, you see things that are around you that you pass every day, even in your own home. You don't even pay attention to it. It's like the reticular part of your brain kind of locks in. So I ask people, when you look at me now and they look at you, are we outside of a human being or inside of another human being? Do they see us outside of you? When somebody looks at you, are they seeing you from the outside or inside? I
Mm.
say they're seeing you from the inside because all your eyes do is take in rays of light, and it goes to the retina, and that gives you a description based upon information that's there, like ChatGPT, that can hallucinate from time to time, and it tells you what you see. And the reticular part of your brain states that if you were to buy a car, you say, I want to get a car because I don't see that color a lot. That when you buy the car, you see the color everywhere. It was always around you. So I'll leave it here. If you look around the room right now and everything, no matter who's watching this broadcast, look around. Would you agree that once upon a time, everything you see at one point never existed? Is that true?
Yeah.
Can you also agree with me that everything needed to create it was already here?
Yeah.
Then why couldn't we see it?
It wasn't created yet, right?
Well, somebody had to create it.
I know.
Why?
Why couldn't?
How come?
How come we can't see what?
Well, how come? See, it hadn't been created, but somebody had to create it because everything in life
Oh,
happens
in their
two times:
imagination, right? Yeah, they're able to
thought,
create it.
thing, in or out of, right?
Yep.
Mental, physical. So what I would say to people is that, especially now, if a person wants to monetize and do something great, it's the easiest time in the world because we have so much information and so many tools that are getting better. But it's creation. If you use the word imagine, the brain will go to whatever trails next. If I say imagine a waterfall, you're going to see a waterfall. If I say imagine that you get close to it, you can feel the air, the breeze from the water racing past your face, and some water hits a rock and splashes on your cheek, you can actually feel that water hit your cheek.
Yeah.
So you can create. So you can create your own reality. You can tell the future if you're willing to write it. But you have to get. Okay, here it is. This is perfect. This is perfect. A child, let's say a 1-year-old child, elevate. 1.5 years old, 2 years old. What's the best time of the day for a child? What's the most exciting time of the day for a child?
Anytime, I would think. I mean,
When they wake up.
well, yeah.
When they wake up, they're gonna let you know they're up.
Right. True. Yep.
They're off to the races, right?
Yep.
Because everything they do during the course of that day is for them.
Mm-hmm.
Explore, learn, do their thing, right? What's the worst time of the day for a child?
Oh yeah. Nighttime. Time to go to bed. Time to
Why
turn
not?
off.
Because they
Yep.
don't want to shut it off.
Right.
They don't want. I must sleep, daddy.
Right.
You don't go to sleep. Sleep comes and gets you.
Yep.
Now, what is the worst time in the day for most adults?
Oh, getting up.
Getting up, right? Because when the time you get up, everything you do is for someone else.
Yep.
You're always well groomed, and you like to be well groomed, but you comb your hair, brush your teeth, and wash your face every day because you were taught that because you cannot be perceived. You don't want to go out and somebody else smells your breath. Think about it. Your mouth is right here, right up under your nose, right? You cannot smell your own breath.
That's true.
Okay, so you do it for other people. When you put on clothes, you want to be presentable, your image, your brand for other people. So we go through our life, we get a job, or we serve our clients for other people, for our spouse, for our family, our kids, for other people. And what's the best time for an adult in the course of 24 hours? When they go to bed,
Go to bed. Go to sleep.
because that's when you get
They
to do it
turn
for
off.
you.
Yeah.
Now you get to do it for you, right? So, so let's return to that childlike state so we can create the life we want to live.
Mm.
Let's never lose in touch because we think our children are crazy. They have so much information, but our parents thought we were crazy and they try to control us, and their parents thought they were crazy and they try to control them. So it's just a progression of the human existence. It's
Yep.
fun. It is fun not knowing because then you either can act like you don't care or learn.
Amen. Love that. And speaking of, you had shared earlier, and I wanted to just touch on this because I think other people experience this as well, is the lack of support that you had early in your career from your friends and family.
Yeah,
How did you navigate that? And especially for people who, if they're doing some sort of network marketing, the first thing they all do is call their friends and family, and they're like,
yeah,
dude, I want nothing to do with this.
yeah,
And you shared, obviously, the secret to that success is the consistency outside of the people you
yeah,
know and build new relationships.
yeah.
But what what was that like early in your career, and maybe still to this day,
Yeah,
your relationships with maybe some of the people, your friends, your family, who didn't get what you were doing, didn't
yeah,
support you, maybe even thought you were crazy. Obviously,
yeah,
you were able to heal your relationship with your ex-wife where you had some issues, but were
yeah,
there any
both of
experiences,
them.
great,
Yes.
were there any experiences with family that were either pushed you towards the success, or that you had to actually reconcile or navigate to to take to that next level?
I didn't have any conflict with with people in the family. It's just that, see, if somebody won't follow you, there's a reason they won't. And reason, one or two ways. Either you have shown them that you're not going to stay with something
Hmm.
and you're dreaming, or and you don't follow through with most things. Or sometimes people look at you and they see in you what they feel that they're not.
Mm.
And them moving forward, they identify that with some type of pain or feeling of being inadequate, not good enough. So they can love you, but if they don't try to be like you or try to enroll with you, then they don't have to feel like they failed. And that's the disconnect in the thinking. The way you do it, number two, is that I went to my friends and family members who I knew were going to help me, and I asked them. We were marketing long distance service when they had AT&T and Sprint. We were 30% lower. I go to them and I said, I want you to switch your service. I'm in the phone business. They're not switching anything. People hate change,
Hmm.
but they also hate things being the same. But
Yeah.
this is what I went to everybody in my family, everyone who would always tell me yes, Doug, they all said no to me. Everyone. I was going to quit, and the people who got me in the room tricked me into going to a training and put my behind in the front row. A
Hmm.
gentleman named Mike Kane came from New Jersey to speak. I'll never forget it. And this is what he said. People that are close to you would much rather do you a favor and support you than to be sold.
Mm.
And I know so many people that refuse to ask someone to do them a favor because they feel it makes them feel weaker and inadequate, and that's ridiculous. We all need other people.
Yeah.
No one reached their fullest potential by themselves. I went back. I said to my mother, "Can you do me a personal favor? I'm trying to elevate this company, and if I can show you a way to save 30% on your phone bill without any cost obligation based on you being my mom, can you do me a personal favor, support my little business, and give it a try?" My mother said, "Why didn't you say it in the first place?" I sure I'd give it to you, and I call your aunties. And she got me seven
Wow.
people. My
Okay.
sisters, the same thing. My friends, the same thing. People would rather help and support you than to be sold.
Mm.
So don't sell, ask for support. And if they still say no, it's okay. No just means no, not right now. Because when I became successful, everyone said, I knew you could do it. Everyone had told me no. And I just smile and I'm just grateful. I don't worry because they get to say no.
Yeah.
But when I was going to reach the top of the company, every person that ever said no said yes. Why? They helped me get to the top because they knew the work I put in. They knew it.
Mm.
So sometimes you have to do it for other people to give them the faith, the hope that things may be possible. So when the next time something comes around, they may try it. The problem is that most people quit before it's time to win because when you build a business, when you build a dream, when you build a family, you have to build you.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's reminds me of Warren Buffett saying, the most valuable investment you can make is in
Yeah.
yourself.
And yourself.
And uh, was it Earl Shope, who was Jim Rohn's mentor?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, said to Jim, don't go out and earn $1 million for the money. You want to go out and become the man who earns $1 million.
Right.
So it's who you become on the way.
Yeah.
It's who you're being, and what you're sharing is profound
That's
in who you're being when you're showing
yeah.
up. Where when
Yeah.
you're selling your family, you're being a salesperson. When you're talking to your family and asking
Right.
for support, you're being a family member. You're being
Kinda, you've
part
been a
of
friend.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like mm, you know, people we're born and we learn a lot of things by the time we're 5, 6, or 7. We have to learn the whole because there's no manual on how to be in a family. It's just you kind of learn it, right? like you learn the language from being around it, navigating, and making distinctions. Um, you know, if we just work on being a little bit better, but first of all, we have to want to be better, and we have to have a reason why to do it. Jeff Hoffman is co-founder of Priceline.com. He's a good friend and on my board. He said that your success can be someone else's miracle.
Mm.
And I have learned in my life it's not about the money, because making money, having a good relationship, is like learning how to bake a chocolate cake. Once you learn how to bake the cake, it doesn't matter what kitchen you're in. There are
Mm.
foundational things that will serve you. So that you said, Jim Rohn's mentor said, become that person, because I've made $1 million twice and lost it, make it again. Now I don't have to make money. The US Mint does that. I created.
Mm-hmm.
Solve a problem, fill a need. And you figure it out, because in the beginning of humanity, before we had all this technology, we had to find ways to create our own economy by providing services to people that would pay you rather than try to do it themselves because they didn't know how, didn't have time, or didn't want to do it.
Right.
Uber Eats, genius. It's for people, man, we order Uber Eats. McDonald's is 3 minutes away. and I'd rather pay 20 extra dollars and tip really well, because I feel guilty giving somebody a $3 tip. So I'm going to give them
Right.
8. And I'm going to pay $3.99 so they'll be in a hurry so the food will be hot and they won't make 3 stops.
Yeah.
So now I'm $11, and then the prices are higher anyway. So I'm $15 more because I don't want to
Get any
spend 3
card.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what problems are you solving now? Like, I know you have a lot going on. So what is
Yeah.
your most passionate problem solving endeavor you have right now?
Oh, wow. Man, we got some cool things happening. Next week on June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, we have a 10X scale summit. We have some phenomenal speakers I'm bringing in that have built multi-billion-dollar companies. Jen Duplessis, she'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're teaching people how to start, grow, and scale, and how an introduction to new technologies that can really help them, and a network of people that really work together. We have a knighting investiture the next night where 9 individuals will be knighted, and that's really about
Wow.
serving the world in our nonprofit spaces, and then we do business together. But on the 23rd, we're having our Royal Gala, which is our nonprofit. My wife and I, already always amazing, and we serve children, veterans, seniors, and women initiatives. And we're writing checks forever. It's so funny you mentioned Ken Rashawn, because he introduced me to a gentleman that changed my life named Ryan Long. And I got many honors and many awards because of that one introduction. And I said no to him as well, but he stayed on me and said, I got to have you here. And he just took me and my life to another level, but he put something in me as well. And that's what we pick 7 charities every year. And for 12 months, we showcase them. We try to raise money for them. We donate to them for a whole year. And then we pick another 7. We also are able to honor 12 individuals that our organization, along with the LA Tribune, will be giving, 12 people the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for the work and service that they've done. Like my sister, I have 2 sisters. One is the director of the Girl Scouts. The other was a Girl Scout troop leader for 37 years.
Wow.
For 25 years, they get together every month and they started to pray. It used to be every 2 weeks, the prayer shawl ministry, and they would crochet blankets, hats, shawls, and gloves, pray over them, and send it to the homeless, the sick, the disenfranchised, children with special needs for 25 years, helping out, working in food pantries for 20 years, and people like that. We have another young lady who she and her husband met at he was a McDonald's employee at 15 and she was 14, met in high school. They got married. He passed away 8 years ago. She's 78. Today, he's built over 200 McDonald's. He built the first Ronald McDonald House. They supply all the napkins and paper for McDonald's. They're on the board of McDonald's Blue Cross, and they just serve. And she's a jazz artist for 35 years. Wonderful, beautiful spirit. And we get to hang around cool people, help them, but to bring programs to people in the inner city. We took 28 people with the Mouseketeers from Disney. We took them they finished writing a book or a chapter in our nonprofit, and we sent them to Disneyland and a parent for each child for a 3-day stay with per diem, hotel, airfare, everything, food,
Wow.
everything included, because they didn't have it. And we did that. to honor that and to create those memories and those experiences. To be able to get, I met a lady last week on my way to Utah, and she's a VP with the Chicago Cubs. I said, look, you still have programs where children from different charities can come to the ballpark, and you have people that can come talk to them, and certain athletes that come talk to. She said, yes, we always do that. We exchange cards. I'll be talking to her this week about how do we pursue that. So you just want to get out there. So many people are willing to help. And if you help other people, they can help other people and they can help other people. And we can make the look, we got 3 companies worth valued at $1 trillion. We've got about 3 people, at least 4 people, maybe worth over $100 billion, maybe more than that. It's not enough to make a million anymore, but we don't have to distribute the wealth. But what is enough? They're not leaving it to the kids anyway. They're leaving it to society anyway. So how come we can't teach people how to be good stewards of their money, how to be good stewards in the financial wealth of their relationships, and then we can take that example and that information and help other people to help other people. Maybe crime can go down. Maybe families can stay together. Maybe the prison system won't have to be a financial windfall for people because it's not run by states, it's run by corporations. They want people to go to jail. That's they make money doing that. And then food companies. I mean, it's so much. So maybe we can help make this world. We don't have to change this world. We just have to change our part in it. Because you may be one person, you may be the world to one person. Well, you may be one person in the world, but you can be the world to one person.
Amen. And isn't that the goal here is all the work that we do, the leading by example, is to show what's possible, to be beacons of light of possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And control your energy when things go wrong. Don't go wrong with it. Energy is so real. Like I'm with a gentleman that we have an entrepreneur forum every second and fourth Wednesday where we have breakfast for entrepreneurs and we feed them and we empower them and teach and let them network. And this one gentleman came and I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Not so good today," and I could feel his energy going down. And I said, "What are you talking about? I mean, you have to choose. Every day is a great day, and some are better." When I was at my lowest point in homeless, Doug, a gentleman named Michael Greer, who was paying me that $250 a week, he said to me, he said, "James, you don't have a problem." He said, "There's kids in the cancer unit. They have a problem. You're going to be okay." And he reframed it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There are people out here who are empowering. There's a gentleman named Zion. You may have seen him on America's Got Talent. When I was going through my cancer treatment, he reached out to me. And I was simply going through treatment. I was shutting down by 4, and I did not get a chance to get back with him. And I kind of just slipped my mind. He doesn't have a lower torso of his body. I mean, from the waist down, there's nothing.
Wow.
He holds the world record for running on his hands. He holds the world record. He can leap higher than you and I can leap, brother. He can leap like 4 feet on a box.
Huh.
I mean, he does pull-ups, chin-ups. He can climb the rope to the top. He's inspiring people so much. And he doesn't have anything under a waist. How will you complain when somebody has lost their entire family in a fire or lost their children to violence and they come up and be an advocate to save somebody else's kids? How do we complain when somebody has been third-degree burns to 100% of their body and they become motivational speakers? They have no arms. How do you complain? Can we find ways to be grateful no matter what it is? No matter, because they are. This is a choice. If you do it, you'll feel better and more things will come to you because money will always go where it's invited and stay where it's needed. It doesn't stay with grumpy people because you focus on your bills, you're going to get more of them. So you have to go back to that childlike, dreamlike state, like Peter Pan. Oh, one day I'm going to climb that tree. And then the next thing you're up there, "Mommy, look at me." "Boy, you better get down here before you hurt yourself." And then when you get to be about 35 and 40, you're not even going to try. You miss your shot. You can die up there.
Yeah.
You got to get special training to go up a tree now.
Well, so you bring up something really powerful and interesting, and I'll share a quick story with you, and maybe this will make sense into the perspective that I'm asking from you. Because what you just shared about some people who have overcome major adversity, and there are people who are aspiring, they're wanting to go out there, and maybe they didn't have much adversity either. And I'll give you a great example. Our daughter Ellie, we're in church, and they were doing it's a non-denominational, great church, pastor's amazing. And they do every once a month they have baptism week, and they'll do the baptism for a group of, maybe 4 or 5 people in the church. And then throughout the day, they have outside people who want to go through the process. And Ellie's like, I want to go through, I want to be baptized, but I want to do it up there. I was like, okay, cool. But then she goes, and before they do the baptism, they'll share a story. Here's so and so, and they were struggling, they were lost, they were using drugs, they were having this adversity, they were having all this, and now, here they are giving themselves to Christ. And Ellie, I said, well, let's, okay, we'll talk to them and do it. And she goes, but Daddy, I don't have a story like they do.
No.
And sometimes there are people who don't feel like they have enough of a story or adversity to then go out and share their story, or, and this is kind of like a speaker question, but not. And I remember one day I had said something like this years ago. I was at a local event. It was before I was working with Tony. And I had said something to someone as well, and I said something similar, like, well, I don't have a story like, I've never been broke. I've been broke, but not like homeless or that kind of thing. And he's like, careful, don't put it out there. You don't want that story. You have another one. And but you get what I'm going with this? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sometimes there are people
yeah.
who are afraid to share their lack of adversity
Of
and don't
adversity,
want to
yeah.
necessarily
Mm-hmm.
exaggerate to a point to make it seem like they're overcoming more obstacles than they have.
Yeah, yeah. You're familiar with Nightingale Conant.
Mm-hmm.
A big Conant, we were doing an event many years ago, and we really hit it off well. We did a few events together, and he said the same thing. He said, "Man, I don't have a story like that. His dad was, Conant, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
Nightingale Conant. There he is with all this stuff, and but he has a story. A life worth living is always worth recording. Tony would say that,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to have all that adversity. Um, every single day, the things that are working right for you, then you want to chronicleize that. You want to document that because you've got a recipe that works,
Mm-hmm.
and you can be the guiding light that is possible for other people to excel. You don't have to go through adversity because, see, at the end, do you know Paul Brown from the Marketer's Cruise?
Yeah, of course.
Paul interviewed me on his podcast, and he said to me, he tried to throw me a curve. He said, "James, what do you fear?" And I said, "Well, first of all, Paul, I don't think fear really exists. I've had 23 guns in my head, and I was just thinking about how I'm gonna get out of it. You may get the shakes later, but that's just your nervous system moving. Because what's the worst that can happen in any situation is that you're going to die. Well, we're all going to die. So now it's just a nervous reaction to something that's unknown.
Mm.
So when I look at people with a story, everybody's got to go through the transition from this life to wherever else we go when we leave here and we leave this body behind. That's going to come. There are people out here that don't have any challenge, but then later on they may have to deal with a cancer diagnosis
Mm-hmm.
or something of that, some medical issue. They may lose a family member and how they respond to that, whether they shut it off and shut it down, or whether they're driven in a different direction because of that, or they decide not to feel anymore and shut it down. I believe everybody has a story. We don't have to compare it though. In that you have gratitude because the people don't have a story such as mine and some of the friends. I have a friend of mine. He came down. He watched his father abuse his mother. He used to put a gun to his mom and make him watch.
Mm.
And one night he woke up after a lot of commotion and 16 people in his house. His father shot 16 people, blew his mother's head clean off. He became a pastor. I don't have to have that story. You don't have to have any of that. Joe Osteen doesn't have that story.
Mm.
Then you tell somebody else's story. Speak to the story. If you don't have it yourself, go in there, interview other people, and learn their stories. Because now you can make the distinction of you at a place where other people want to get to. So
Mm.
you are proof that you can be there. But then you'll learn how to communicate with those individuals who are suffering and give them hope. And then you'll be able to find the formula to create the perfect recipe somewhere in the middle.
Love it. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I
So,
didn't have a story when I was baptized, but I got one afterwards.
right.
I was like 5.
There you go. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. And I agree. I wanted, of course, your perspective for obviously multitude of reasons.
You can't count Ella V, man. Look what Ella V is exposed to. Come on. I interviewed you, your wife Heidi, and Ella V. And it being in the marketers cruise, the environment that you have her in, oh my God.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just so
we last event we did, you don't know our friend Walter, but I MC and I
Mhm,
do a bunch of breakthroughs and stuff at a 3-day event there in Orlando, and Ellie comes up and now she speaks. So well, she was coming
nice.
up and helping me sort of, get the crowd going and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Last year, she's like, I want to talk, Daddy. So like, okay, Ellie, you got 5 minutes. So it was so Heidi spoke, introduced Ellie, and then I came on.
Yeah.
So like, all right, Ellie, kind of got a clock. We were talking to you about preparing and all that. And she's like, no, I got it. I'm like, okay, do you want to prepare for anything? She's like, well, here, play this video. That, I'm going to use this as my intro. And it was her
Hmm.
talking when she was like 4. And we brought her up there and it was like, okay, 5 minutes, we're up. And
Yeah.
she was crushing it. I'm like, okay, Ellie, come on, time. We gotta, we gotta go. She's like, hold on 1 second. Starts bringing up volunteers and starts role playing with
Wow.
these people on stage and doing like sophisticated like stage. She was doing spatial anchoring. She was getting
Wow.
by, like she was doing all blown away. It's like she didn't even realize some of the stuff. Well, obviously she didn't know what she was doing consciously, but what she
Hmm.
was picking up from just being in that environment
Right.
was insane. And like we had to
Yeah.
get the hook to get her off because she was still going and going.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that I guess will be, again, part of her story and all the
Yeah.
trials and tribulations. But to your
Hmm.
point, the environment that people are in certainly has a huge influence on
Yeah.
how one shows up.
Yeah.
So I want to quickly honor your time. How can people get in touch with you? What are you like really wanting to have people like remember? What's the final words of
Hmm.
Sir Dr. James Gently III, Baron of what are you the Baron
Baron
of?
of St. James of Cappadocia.
Of St. James of Cappadocia.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. My wife and I, that's our when we flirt, we call us. I call her Excellency and His
Mhm.
Excellency, and that means it's time. Night, night. Let's go. Uh, cold, cold, cold. First of all, we own a streaming television platform, and we're really proud of it because it still is not one that exists in the country and in the world like it, and that's JD3TV.com. We invite people to become, if nothing else, become a free member and check us out. We're now incorporating the membership club part of it, where people can win reward points, which we call diamonds, and for referring people, they can win money, they can win prizes, they can win trips. They get a gift valued at $150 just by trying it, and there's no obligation to it. So JD3TV.com is our baby. We built that so we can help even more and more people. And we have a social impact channel where if someone has a charity and they want to put their content there, then they can do so, and a donate button there as well. And the charities, there's no cost to them to have those tools. If someone is a speaker or a coach or has content, they get their own channel, they get their own data. We teach them how to market that data, to monetize it. YouTube is phenomenal, but they make $30 billion a month because they have the data. So you get your own data, and you can stay with YouTube as well. You can even, if you have a podcast, you can put that there, and you still can get the Apple and all the other podcasting streams there as well. If they have programs they want to sell, books they want to sell, they can sell it right through there through this unique opportunity with JD3TV.com. That's the main thing. But outside of that, and I'd like to invite you to come speak at our event in October, and they can go to find out the things that we're doing, they go to www.alwayslimitless.com, alwayslimitless.com, or www.jd3tv.com. And they can always reach me and email me or see me. My stuff is out there on the sites. They can Google me. I'm there. So we just love people. We love to help. We love to make a difference. And again, our success can be somebody else's miracle. So let's go build those stories together.
Let's do it, brother. Well, thank you so much. Send tons of love to everyone in your world.
Yes.
You're an absolute blessing. I love you for who you are and who you aren't. And yeah, let's obviously stay in touch. We're going
Yeah.
to do what we can. I mean, what I believe everything in everything that you're doing, and anything that I can do. Any of my resources are always available to you as well. It's an absolute privilege to know you, to be friends with you. And as we move forward, let's talk offline, and let me see if there's any other resources or people I could connect you with to help forward, move your mission.
You got it. Let's get your show on our platform. It's not going to hurt. It's going to be free for you.
All right, let's do it. I'm there,
Well, let's
dude.
do it.
All
All right,
right.
brother.
God
All right,
bless
man. Love
you.
you, man. Give my best
Love
to
you
the
too.
family.
And you too. And we'll see you in well, soon.
You got it, my friend. I'll
All right.
reach out tomorrow. We'll talk about October.
Okay. Right on. God bless you,
All right.
brother.
God
Peace.
bless, man. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.